What's up, everybody? Good evening, good evening. Tonight is Woke Wednesdays. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do this every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Herson Sanchez. I'm the host of Woke Wednesdays, third-year doctoral student at Florida International University here in Miami, Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have amazing guests tonight. We're talking about, I think, a very cool topic. We're talking about Insecure, the show. So if you haven't watched it, I don't know what to tell you.
Get your life.
Get your life. Yeah, you sleep. All these things.
Wake us.
Let's go through and introduce our panelists tonight. So who would like to start?
Mario.
All right, bet. All right, my name is Marley Lewis, first year PhD student in higher education, or just higher education. Look forward to talking about the show.
Heard.
You
look at this bell.
I gave you the look. No, like, you need to go first.
Okay, so hi, my name is Alexandra Barboza, better known as Lex. I'm not a PhD student. I am from Rhode Island, URI alumni. And I'm here for a work trip, so I'm actually like super duper excited to.
Hey, we're about to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Mama Lee.
Hey everyone, my name is Eileen. I'm a JetBlue flight attendant.
Hey, JetBlue.
In the
Turn
sky.
up.
I'm from Rhode Island as well. This is my college buddy, Lex.
Yes.
I begged her to come, just went. But yes, I'm so excited for tonight. Go.
All right. Hey y'all, I'm Dr. Dele Gomi. I already have
Hey,
a
come on, Doc.
A real queen.
Come on, Doc.
Yes, you gotta drop that.
I'm
there.
happy to be back here on Woke Wednesdays. Originally from Chicago, a 1-year Miami resident. And let's get into this.
Yeah.
So again, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. I see a lot of new faces on the show. Please feel free to ask questions, post comments. And yeah, tonight we're talking about Insecure, the show, not Insecurities. We can talk about that on another episode. But tonight we're talking about Insecure, the show. So if you have any questions, please let us know. If you disagree with what we're saying, let us know. Let us know if you're Team Lawrence, Team whoever.
You already
started. Whatever.
Let's go ahead and ask. So, who's y'all's favorite character and why?
Kelly.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Kelly is a
interesting.
real
Why?
queen.
Why?
Kelly.
Why?
Well, one, she's one of the only people that really got her shit together. Like, she has her little quirks and stuff, and I'm not saying we all can't struggle, we've all been there. But I really appreciate a black woman, especially, being able to be like, I'm an accountant, I do really, really well. And also be able to say, like, bitch, you got a 425 credit score? Like, bitch, where are you living?
Accountability.
Right? Exactly. Accountability. But also, she's really funny. And she's not funny in the traditional sense where she has, like, all those punchlines. Like, she's just naturally funny.
Yeah.
So for me, even though she was a smaller character in the show, she actually elevated, and actually, this is my favorite season of her, period. So she's my favorite.
You get ready, okay?
Listen,
you get ready.
Listen, I talk about this all the time with my girls.
Okay. Alright, go ahead, Lee.
I would have to say Issa. I mean, why are you laughing at me?
He's calling you basic,
Go
basically.
ahead, bro.
But I think that we all go through struggles, and she is literally laying it out there for you. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who go through the same struggles that will never, ever come out and say that, or say, oh, this is what I go through, this is what I do. I talk to myself in the mirror. And what?
Me too,
like,
though.
You be
know what
rapping?
I'm saying?
Go ahead, you got bars, Lee?
My
Go
name
ahead,
is
Team real quick.
All the way.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
So I identify with Issa through and through. I do.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in a lot of the ways that, like, we all struggle, you know, you're trying to, like, figure out yourself. And, like, there are often times where I've been like, oh, shit, like, I've been through that. Yes,
Exactly.
like Eileen said, but my favorite character is also, I'm Team Kelly. I love her.
Yes.
She is the best.
Come on, we accepting applications in 2019. Yes.
Sheesh. All right. Some tough acts to follow. Well, because I don't follow rules very well, I'm gonna have to go with Lawrence.
Hey.
I appreciate everything.
Thanks, Lex. Damn, Lex.
Hey.
No, I'm intrigued. No, I really want to listen to it.
Ooh. So Team Lawrence.
Muzzle off. There it is.
There's always one in the group.
I'm Jewish, bro.
I said I'm
but for real, the Black and Blue.
Blackish, not Blackish.
That's another show.
That's another show for another time.
So let us know why you Team Lawrence.
Team Lawrence, I think Lawrence is a great representation, or he's a non-traditional representation of black masculinity, specifically on camera, and that's something that we don't get. And specifically, he's explored in ways in which you've never seen black masculinity, black romance, even black mental health within a man being explored. So I believe we'll get into it later more likely. I think that's why a lot of us identified with him, or at least felt for him during certain trials and tribulations. But plot twist, honorable mention, I gotta go back to season 2 and give a shout out to my dog, Aparna. Aparna was dope.
Cool.
She was a G. She held him accountable.
Yes.
And she was just about that action. That's something I could definitely respect. So shout out to Aparna.
She was.
Cool. So
she was also smart bag.
That was
Smart bag.
Oh, yeah.
So Issa was done bad.
Wow.
I didn't know.
She's a social justice babe because I didn't see Aparna, shooting with us at the gym. I'm just saying, like.
What?
Aparna only got to be in 2 episodes. What you mean?
I'm just saying, but that was not my fault. That was Lawrence's fault. That had nothing to do with anybody else.
So that's also, I think, why Lawrence, I think, is a phenomenal character.
Phenomenal!
Right? So,
phenomenal.
we also get to see through Lawrence is also a type of vulnerability that we rarely get to see. Right? Being at a complete low, trying to work through something. Right? And one thing I appreciate about the show in itself is his friendship with Chad. Right? Chad is
honorable mention.
Low key, Chad is an asshole, especially like in the first season with him.
He's you.
And it's
so
like I was saying,
friends, let's have them.
So, but the thing is, there was one point when I can't. I'm not here trying to.
You got it.
Let me read some of these comments. My T_TY is saying, I love Lawrence too. I appreciate you.
Hey, Lawrence.
I appreciate you. And then, no, I love Issa too. People just loving Issa and Lawrence. So, question, y'all. So Issa fucked up.
In the relationship?
In the relationship.
Yeah, we need to hear like clarity.
Yeah, I need which part.
In a relationship. She
point?
cheated. She was the one who cheated.
Yes.
Can we agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is because there have been other people that I've talked to and they say no. Lawrence was the one who cheated.
Listen.
Listen.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me testify. Can I
go there?
testify?
Come on.
No, I will say this. Although I agree that Lawrence was enticing Tasha, right? She enticing someone external from the relationship.
Correct.
At the end of the day, Issa had many opportunities to stop herself from going to Daniel, right? From going to visit him, from reaching out to him, because he has no loyalty at all to Lawrence. Who is Lawrence to him, right? They know each other from back in the day. And so at the end of the day, it's up to her, right? Like, I can't stress this enough. We can talk about emotional cheating, we can talk about physical cheating, but it's not one outweighing the other. It's more along the lines of like, at the end of the day, Issa had like 15 chances to be able to stop herself. People in her life tried to tell her that, and she did not listen. And that's why I actually didn't really feel that bad, right? When it came to like Lawrence reacting in the way, because he could have done other things. That doesn't mean I'm part of Team Lawrence though, because I feel like there were things that he did in the relationship and he didn't take accountability from the beginning. He was out here being like, this is your fault, you cheated. And again, that's true, but it's like, what did you do? Because when you're blaming somebody else, you're also pointing that finger back on yourself. Like, what did you do? Not even as a man, but as a partner. And I feel like, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I just really feel like it's not a comparison. It's not like who's suffering more, who did more. It's like Lawrence had this hit culpability here, but then Issa all like had culpability in the term, because if he would have went out to lunch with her and all that other stuff, it could have stopped there. We have no idea. We can't speculate. But for Issa, like she, in that scene with Daniel, she went into the studio. He was writing them SoundCloud, you know what I'm saying, beats, and then all of a sudden, no disrespect to SoundCloud,
but let's unpack that a little bit more, because generally speaking, in relationships, right? If we think about cheating, I always see that as a symptom of something else.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Inherently, you had Issa, who was frustrated with the situation that Lawrence was in, which was quite frankly, he was depressed. He was going through a depressive state. He wasn't happy with his job. He was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He didn't have things together. He was working at Best Buy, had these ideas. Issa wasn't supportive.
Listen, I used to work
and they
at
haven't.
Best Buy.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? We've all worked between jobs while we're trying to figure out like where we are, especially at this age. Like, you know,
Absolutely.
very rarely do we all have it all together. And I think what was really missing was being able to communicate and also be present for the other person. It's not always going to be like an equal footing. Somebody's going to have to, compensate for where the other person lacks in a relationship. It's
Absolutely.
never 50% the whole time. And I think where Issa did not have the capacity to be present for Lawrence in the way that he needed, and similarly so, Lawrence did not have the capacity to then be a support for Issa. So we saw where she was like, bro, like, what are you doing? And I just see you on the couch, you're not getting out and getting a job. Why are you working in this situation? So, I mean, it was rough, but I also feel that, and they at the end where they had this, when Lawrence left, at the very end when they had that conversation and that beautiful song was playing and all of that, but
Caesar.
Daniel Caesar, with that glorious Daniel Caesar, that's when we finally saw. That's when we finally saw, like, oh man, we weren't whole enough to really be present for each other in the way that we needed to be and to make this work. Absolutely. So then we start to see this more in season 3, right? Where it's like, Lawrence is noticing more about Issa, like, oh, okay, she's growing. And then, like, Issa's starting to, she sees things, but I think that was in a position of lack, and particularly because we had Ghost Bay not showing up, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
We don't have to.
Just like Nathan, we don't have to go.
We need to get to Ghost Bay.
We gotta unpack this Bay.
So anyone else got thoughts on this, on this part of Issa and Lawrence?
No, I think a great point was brought up, though. They both engage in problematic acts. That's why I don't know if you remember earlier on when you used to ask, like, yo, whose team are you on? I think I initially didn't take a team. Because now you know I'm Team Lawrence. Now I was initially team the whole cast of characters is trash, intentionally, though. Because that's what it is. With the exception of Kelly, you could argue everybody
Kelly's
else
still an
is
asshole, though. Like, Kelly's still ain't shit. Like,
but in other aspects of her life, she has that shit together. For
absolutely.
the ensemble of characters, I'm like, you're trash, you're really trash.
Right.
You're trash, you're hilarious, but trash. So that's what it was. But I think over time, I started to gravitate more towards Lawrence, especially when they developed and began to unravel and unwrap his character. It was a lot of, oh, I get it. And to be real, a lot of your homeboys in their group chats, they were nodding like, oh, I get it. This is exactly what we went through or I seen homeboys go through.
So folks wasn't really fucking with Daniel.
I was fucking with Daniel. I'm gonna go ahead and say I was really like Team Daniel. But the funny thing is that when we start to look at the season, because I was like, oh, Daniel like is attentive. He's doing this. He's doing that. Flip side, we get to see like character development, plot development of Daniel, and then it's like, what the fuck is up with Daniel?
What
like,
is up with Daniel?
Because to
Daniel
me,
ain't shit.
Exactly, because you know what? And the piece that you said was so poignant. It's about communication. And I think that's the biggest thing about relationships. And the reason why I say that is because Issa and Lawrence could have went further if there was unpacking of, because Issa's a terrible communicator.
Yeah, she is.
And that episode where you could hear what she was thinking about, I'm like, say it. Just say it. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, fix them lips to say something. And it's funny because I can appreciate, because not everybody is a true extrovert. Just because you like talking doesn't mean that you gain energy from being around people, right?
Yes.
I'm a chatty patty, but for me, I love my alone time. I'm a chatty patty. Not a snitcher, but like I like to collaborate.
The snitches get stitches.
That's why I'm coming to you, doctor. So anyway.
So real quick, let me read these comments. People saying I was Team Daniel too. Boo. People were saying why isn't Daniel shit? Issa was using him, some people are saying. So it's interesting because we're kind of talking about a little bit, there seems to be this theme of the grass is greener type of thing, right? Absolutely. You said like Daniel was more sensitive to her, attentive to her. Tasha was very attentive to Lawrence. Usually at the beginning of a type of relationship, people are more attentive. They're like, oh, a little
Yeah,
sweeter now, and
So the
you
layers
know,
start
give
to
them a
get
couple
peeled
months,
back.
then it might be more of an asshole. But
Right.
so we keep on seeing this. This seems to be a trend with Nathan. Oh, he was attentive to these. Well, yeah, y'all just met, like, and y'all hung out for like 8 hours, and then
Well,
he bounced,
yeah.
right? So like there seems to
It
be
was
this,
real though.
Yeah.
Person, it was
Oh,
real.
that person was real.
That Ferris
So,
wheel.
but there seems, but real quick, so there seems to be this kind of attentiveness from new people.
Yes.
And Aparna was the same way. Like, there's always this attention from new people.
And
Real
now you
quick,
got
we
one.
haven't talked about Tiffany and Derek.
Can't wait.
So, real quick, what are y'all's thoughts on Tiffany? Because we've kind of touched on every main character. So, what are y'all's thoughts? And recently, Amanda Seales came out with an article. I don't know if y'all read it or saw it. We maybe talk about that a little bit. But real quick, initial thoughts on Tiffany and Derek.
Take it.
To be honest, Tiffany's character to me, I was really kind of turned off by certain comments because she seemed real uppity, and not because I felt like, oh, she's better than people, but she just has that personality type that you kind of, if you don't know her, you're kind of just like, is she trying to one up me right now? Right? And I think that there's a deeper character, and I really appreciated the episode of Beychella, right? When she was just like, things are different now. And we got to see a really raw character, and it kind of, to me, was kind of a little upsetting throughout the season because her article that she mentioned, that you mentioned rather, talked about like, why can't black people just be good? Why do you have to like fetch these with black love? Why do you have to fetch this negativity? Like, we have all these other negative relationships and situationships, right? Because even me, I hopped on that bandwagon. I was like, damn, what if, remember how that scene in the bar when Derek was like, hey, you better stop that friends with Issa because, Tiffany had a work friend and I cut that shit off.
Right.
Fred,
I
exactly.
handled it. What happened?
Exactly.
I handled
And
it.
then we find out that she was out of the house for like
6
6
months.
months.
Living
I
with
was just
herself.
like, damn, she might have really dipped into that company pool.
Not
Right?
just that, but
So-
remember also when they're at Issa's house,
Yep.
and they're like, yo, where's Kelly at? Oh, she's hanging out with someone else. But then Derek was like, oh, she's with Issa.
With Tiffany.
Tiffany was with Issa. So we're like, so she's not with Issa, but she's
There
supposed to be with Issa.
was strain in that relationship.
There was some,
Absolutely.
and in the article it seems that Amanda Seales was very like, why are y'all coming up with these speculations? Well,
Well, that's
Because
why.
that's what it was.
Because that's how it was written and implied to the
Yep.
script. So I think I was telling Ursula, it's easy to say that when you are in the production room and you are actual character in the show, it makes sense to you, but we don't see what you see.
Right.
So we have 3 or 4 separate incidents where we got the side eye and never got a resolution to.
Yep.
We can only assume that in season 4 they're gonna wrap back around.
This season was so rough that way. I'm like,
Oh,
And then all of a sudden there's a baby and it's just like,
oh,
Where does
right? And then,
Blue season.
Tiffany is definitely to me an elitist person.
yes,
In the way she comes off,
Very
right? The way she
pretentious.
carries herself, which is actually like ironic because Amanda Seales seems to not be like that.
Yeah.
Like, very based on her
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff. But Derek also seems to be like not really like that either. He's kind of
No,
like
he's not. We
low-key.
didn't get a lot of him this
Yeah.
season though, other than maybe an episode or two. Yeah, like the baby shower and the bar scene.
You mean
So I'm trying to hit every character. I'm thinking Dro.
Oh.
Dro is the other character.
Joe was in his
That's his
feelings.
cousin. Yeah.
That's not my cousin.
Yeah. So what do y'all think about Dro?
When Molly said, "Can I have my key back?" and he was like,
Excuse
like
me.
clutch pearls.
No.
Why do you? There was like a sense of entitlement to everything. My dude, I love you and nothing against the open marriage scene. If it works for you, awesome. Alleged open marriage, right? Well, no, it is because he said on the phone he was like, "Oh, I'm still at Molly."
Yeah, third
Right.
season,
Okay,
third season,
I'm
episode
yeah,
one.
she called, yeah.
Third season, episode
But
one.
you
but
know,
that doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything.
This
I
is
don't-
true.
but
The
this is
assumption.
the
The
thing.
assumption. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, that's exactly it. Not to cut you off, but it's like, even though I did.
But
No, I did. That's what I
The Lexi show.
It's one of those things where we're assuming, because I have like a lot of male friends that are married and whatever the case may be, and I know their wives, I was a part of their wedding, and if my friend Elias is at my house and is visiting me and my fiance, then his wife is gonna know like, hey, I trust Lex, I trust Giles, right? Because of that fact. So there's a lot of assumptions I feel like we're making. Not to say that you are, because even I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, but we don't know. Because
Right.
why would you want to have a baby in an open relationship, right?
well, I mean,
But that's
I don't think
also-
they're
that's
mutually
also-
exclusive.
that's
But
also
I don't
an
think they're
assumption,
mutually
right?
exclusive.
Okay.
But I do feel that you should honor the fact that Molly had boundaries.
effect, Kat is saying, but they're also childhood best friends.
That's the other
So, right? So then
there's
Somalia,
There's history.
Yeah, she
What
was.
you think, Mama Lee?
So I feel like
Wow.
Joe is
She
trying to
really a
have
lot.
sister wives popping to some degree, and
Well, he
Molly.
wanted that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
but
Right.
It ain't happening.
It Molly was not able to be. You know, and it's nothing against Molly either, because it works for some people and it doesn't for others, and it didn't work for Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Molly did not want to be in a space where she felt like she had to share with another person, and
Well,
you
she
have
did
to
want it
respect
at
that.
first, though. She went full blown.
but they fucked at the dinner when his wife was out there.
That was
And
really
that was
disrespectful in my
That
mind.
was a lot.
Even with the open
But I
relationship,
think-
you like,
but-
nah.
Yeah,
like,
with the open relationship.
You took it
Right.
out.
It's like where is the
Boundaries.
There are no
Where's
boundaries.
the
So
boundaries?
real
Where's
quick,
the
because-
values? Or do you have it?
Dele said
Oh.
Molly, do
that
you?
Dro felt entitlement to the key.
But
So,
To the,
No,
yeah.
What
to
you doing,
even
bro?
just
Well,
be-
to her, right?
Yeah, to
In general,
Molly,
to
not
her.
just the key represented access.
I think they both feel a type of entitlement to each other, which is part of the reason that why she had to let him go.
But does she have the key to Drill's house?
Right.
No.
Like, I'm
No,
just
but
saying.
No, she wouldn't
she
wanna do that,
offered
but-
the key. In the second season, she's like, here you go. He's like, what's this for? She's like, I just want you to have it.
Right.
And then apparently season 3 takes place 2 weeks after season 2.
Oh,
Right? So then 2 weeks later,
Yeah,
she's
ask
like, hey, give me my key back. And he's like, what? Like, if y'all been hooking up and that's been like
But
the
she
way your
said it.
relationship
Is that
But
taking
you're
it
not
back
paying
or
my bills,
entitled?
so give me
But
my
yeah.
Is that taking aback or entitled?
he was taken back a little bit. He's like, oh, okay, gave her the key. He did give it to her. And then she brought up the whole his wife thing. Right? He's like, hey, whatever me and my wife got going on, like that's between
That's
us.
us. And you
Right.
knew that coming in that we had that.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Which
so,
is why I loved his reaction at the baby shower. And she's like, hey,
Oh.
he's like, oh, we talking
we're
now?
talking now.
Oh, loved it. I'm here for the clapback.
I thought that was super petty, but that's
was-
a
Yeah.
Hold on, let me
It
say
was
it.
super
Let me
appropriate.
say it.
It was. Yeah,
I didn't say it was inappropriate. I just felt
Away
it's still
with you.
petty.
I
It's
know
still
you
petty
said
though.
that.
Hold on. All right, go ahead, Lean, go ahead.
I just feel like, yes, you didn't ask for the key, and then the reason why he looked at her like, wait, you want it back, is because wasn't we just fucking? Wasn't we just doing it? Like, I thought you was cool. I said it straight for you, and that's the thing about relationships in general. Like, if someone tells you this is what it is,
Mm-hmm. Accept that.
you gotta like take a step back and like realize like, am I good? Is this really what I want? Like, even though I know her, I don't know her. Even if she didn't know her, she should have really stepped back and said, do I really want to do this? Clearly she didn't.
Real quick, my
She
underscore
stepped into
TY,
that, huh?
my underscore TY saying Molly knew, and then she started acting like she didn't know what was up.
It was messy.
Exactly.
All of it was
So
messy.
I don't
wasn't
think it's
clear
that.
cut.
Jason
I don't
saying
think
that
it's
was so
that.
wrong. Yeah.
But I don't think it's that she realized that she didn't know what's up. She just realized like, wait, I don't think that this is
I
what
can
I
do this.
want.
It's not for me now. Yeah.
You know what I'm
And I
saying?
just
and
feel
that's
like-
a part of knowing
yeah.
who you are, knowing what you're like about to do, knowing how much you can stand for. Like if you want to be the side chick, be the side chick. But realize that you are the side chick. Like
Yeah,
you're
you
not
claim you're
gonna.
side chick.
But
But
you're
hold
not
on,
gonna get the
though.
ring.
Hold
You're
to
not
that
gonna get the,
argument.
But hold
the
on,
time.
though.
But she wanted time.
Hold on.
At some point, she
Mark,
was
did you want to say
stepping.
something? Mark, did you want to say something?
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I think I've already said that. Like, I think just to double back, I think what caused all that was Drew was taking it back. And that's why I don't know. A part of me is debating about the entitlement thing because I can understand that this all transpired within a span of 2 weeks. Like literally 6 scenes ago, we was smashing.
Yep.
9 scenes before that, I was going down on you. Before that, we was at the crib.
That
we
same
smashing.
episode, he was going down her
Yes.
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
Exactly.
On the
On the counter.
countertop.
Like she was the entree. So now all of a sudden, like you want your key back, I'll be like, wait, what's?
But wait, there was a moment before then. She stopped after they were in the bed and said, "Okay, we got to decide. I want to do better. Let's
Yeah,
split this about. Are we either going to be acquaintances who don't fuck, or are we just going to be fuck buddies?" And they went fuck buddies.
But it's
So
not-
you can't hang. She said he was like, "Oh, I want to congratulate you. Let's go celebrate." And she's already hesitating because like, wait, I thought we were just going fuck.
Exactly.
So
No, he should. No, but he should respect that. But my thing is, haven't they crossed that bridge before? Where it's like, yo, we can't do this no more.
And
Or
they
then
do it.
fucking 2 scenes later.
Yeah, the first time it happened, he's like, hey, after this, it's not gonna happen no more.
Yeah.
Literally 8 seconds later.
I'm just saying that
I was
you have
not
the ability
surprised.
to change your mind though.
you do.
Like,
Yes, you
and
do.
that's the only
For
thing
sure.
that I will say.
For sure,
And
yeah.
I feel like we always, we always say, oh, if I was in this situation, this is what I would be in, right?
Yeah.
And I
That's
feel like,
Like,
right?
that's
We're
not
always
fair.
like, oh, if I was
Yeah.
with someone and someone cheated on me, I would never take them back, right?
This
And I'm
might
not.
be
That's
you.
not
Right, and it could be anybody, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not knocking that, but all I'm saying is the one thing that I will give Molly is the moment that it stopped working for her,
She.
she realized it because it stopped working for her for a while,
I was about
right?
to say, yeah.
But
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not saying that she was like immediately, but she was like, how do I feel? Where do I want to go? When she made that decision, she said it. Now, she might not have said it as eloquently, but she made that choice. And as a woman, I feel like if I want to change my mind, I pay my own bills. I do my own thing. You are not a co-signer on my loan for this crib, right? So it's just like, I don't like the fact that she went back and forth and was finicky because they weren't talking. The first time they start talking, all of a sudden she's like, hey, and he's like, listen, I haven't talked to you. You cussed me out. Why are you talking to me now?
Yeah.
I thought it was petty. I didn't say it was inappropriate. I just thought it was like a petty. He was like, oh, we talking now? You know what I mean? Like, I was just like,
look at
I guess ultimately with his reaction, I can understand his reaction, and I completely respect her decision.
Yes.
And I think someone can be surprised and kind of taken aback by that reaction. I think that's normal. I think that's fine. Yeah. It's not like he said, "No, I'm not giving you your key back." Like, what the fuck? He didn't say any of that. He was surprised. He's like, "What are you talking about?" Oh, you were serious this time. Because again, they've gone back and forth before, right? And he's like, "Okay, ultimately, here's your key."
But he still doubled back.
Right.
Well, he called her the next day to try and celebrate, and it was like,
I think give him the key.
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
That she flipped,
I don't think they did. That's also when she brought
up
the wife.
It was before that.
I think he bounced that.
Yeah.
That's a little bit.
So since we're on the topic of Molly, real quick, let me read. Okay, corny as fuck. Okay. Asian Bay. Asian Bay.
No, he's a thug too.
Is it Andrew?
Andrew. I love Andrew.
Andrew kept it real.
Yes. And I think Molly needs that.
Yeah.
Like,
he set an expectation of realness through and through. Exactly. And you know what? Once you set that standard, he wasn't taking shit from it. And Molly was confused.
With the head down and all, yo, what you want, Ma? I ain't got time for all this.
Playing Call of Duty or whatever he was doing, right? He was like, I'm kind of busy. I'm like, lying.
So how do y'all feel about the interracial relationship? Because Molly did say, hey, she's like, I want to date a black man. I don't see myself dating anyone outside of that.
I'm all about black love. As a black woman, I'm all about black love. But just because I like black or love black love doesn't mean I dislike other groups. So I feel like there's one thing with identifying with someone who happens to be African American or whatever you're liking, but I do think you limit yourself when you're like, I'm only dating this person, or because a lot of times we check off these boxes, and I don't really feel like we understand what. Because for me, I was like, he has to have a job, he has to do this, he has to do this. But I'm like, there's people who have jobs and who drive cars and who has a career, and they're ain't shit people.
Listen, let me tell you though.
You're right.
Let's be real, because
come on, David. Come on, David. Come on, David.
He's a junior. You be real.
No, he's a little cousin. Go ahead.
First of all, I think I'm older than you.
Old Lisa.
But let's just
you got your shit there, girl?
At least I got a doctorate.
Hey,
Okay.
Silence.
Damn.
That's what I was saying.
Everybody go.
All right, y'all. I'm going to bed on that note. I'll let y'all later. We're going to study.
But I mean, and again, like me too. I love black love, and I want to celebrate it. And like, let's be open as long as I know that you ain't vote for 45. And you know the influence of white supremacy in society. If we can dialogue there, then maybe we can have some other connections.
Also, Asian society with African Americans too, because there's a staunch feeling that some groups, right, Asian groups, in the past have reacted negatively, whether that's violence against them, calling the police, those things. So I do agree. I will say that, ditto.
But I do think that when it comes to intra-POC relationships, right, things that can be complicated. And I think oftentimes what we do see is it's complicated, right? Because you're not just black, you're not just Asian. There are intersections to it, right? And then what we see oftentimes is poor people, right? Especially POCs. Oftentimes live in similar neighborhoods, same neighborhoods, right? They might get along, especially first generation kids.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's the parents who are actually the ones calling the cops, doing all this stuff, right? So, but you see the kids like hanging out, right? So I think Andrew's a good example of that. I mean, you see this a lot, right? So I think that's really, really interesting how that plays out. Andrew clearly feels comfortable around black people. Right, all his friends, right?
He's smooth, dog.
He
too fucking smooth.
Lord.
I'd be his friend.
I would. We'd hang.
I'd be his friend.
So I think Andrew's kind of doing his
Not
thing.
that type of friend. I like platonic friend.
So
I'm getting married.
Let 'em know.
Since
Let 'em know.
we're talking about,
I'm like, hold on.
since we're talking about racial stuff,
Yes.
okay.
can we talk a little bit about the school? We got y'all.
Woo!
We got y'all. So let's just
With
start.
that white
let's
hand.
start. But it's my hand. But it's
But
my
it's
hand.
not racist.
So let's start with we got y'all. Let's kind of
I'm
break that
helping
down a
the
little bit.
community.
I know we're kind of all over the place. We're trying to get everything in an hour.
So much. There's
Yeah.
much.
So far so good. We got y'all. So what's up? What are your thoughts on this?
Ugh.
I just was like cheering on the inside and outside when Issa quit. I mean, on top of the fact that We Got Y'all is just a hot ass mess.
Right.
And the person in power, her boss, is absolutely delusional and frankly just
That white
whiting.
savior
She
complex
was
is
whiting
there.
so hard throughout. She was on her white savior.
What about James Baldwin?
Yeah.
What would
I'm
you?
torn
I'm not your
between the
Negro.
Booker
That's
T.
what it
Washington and the boys.
I'm like, no, listen and pause. Yeah.
I agree. I think I really like the fact that Issa worked for a company like that because I find that as someone also from the inner city, you do see a lot of the teachers, police officers, and other public servants that don't live in the neighborhood that they serve, and they don't look like the neighborhood that they serve.
Right.
And so even though I do think they could be allies, right? I do think that we need like representation matters.
Yeah,
like no matter if you see it in media, no matter if you see it in your career path, and I feel like when you come to a company that you're one of one, a lot of times, right? Like I'm in the tech field. A lot of times I'm like, Black women in the tech field is very, very low,
That's
right?
Yeah,
Limited, right? It helps to look at people, and that's why I think when the whole problem with the Latino students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think with Issa, even though I specifically, and I'll put that asterisk, I don't agree with the comments made by the principal, nor how Issa handled it. But I understand that struggle of like, but I really just want Black people to rise, right? No, I don't want them to rise on top of somebody else, right? I don't want other people to suffer based on us trying to get up. But I do feel like for the first time she's like, no, I feel at home. This group, like I feel camaraderie with this group. So I mean, I feel like I don't want to name, but I can name back home a whole bunch of organizations that are like that. That you go there and there's all white faces.
Here.
Well, of course, I'm not Floridian. Like you know what I mean? So, but like,
they're everywhere.
That's
Right.
super
Yeah.
key. Like the fact that the boss shut down Issa when she went back. You know how they had the list, everything was crossed off, and she was like, "Hold up, let me actually find out what is going on with these schools who don't have a contract with us anymore." And they told her point blank. She tried to provide that feedback, and in white fashion, shut that down. And how do you serve a community? And you're saying you're serving your community and not communicate with the community that you're serving.
Absolutely.
That's pointless. It is the antithesis of doing health equity work, and I wanted to punch her in the gonads.
also like look at everybody else. They were like, oh, they don't know how to go to the beach. They don't do this. They don't do that. I'm like, who the fuck did you hire? Excuse my language, but like, how do you hire this?
Oh, you can.
I'm like,
I've been dropping.
I mean, this is the 14th swear I feel like, but you know, I just had to put that forward.
I think the meeting that they had, remember the meeting that everyone was like, well, it does look like a white hand. Oh, but there's only Black kids on it and everything. I think that happens a lot in programs now.
Yeah.
Because this program had to be a good idea for somebody because they got funding, right? Some days they got funding.
Funding and
It
itself
started-
is a political thing.
Yeah,
It is. But I what I'm saying is that I think that a lot of different organizations, including the ones from back home and the ones here, are like going through the same thing where it's like, because it wasn't just about Black kids, Spanish kids, it was even like LGBTQ. They was like, wait, well, can we do a rainbow? And it's true. Like, it's like, I think every different, either if it's nonprofit, profit, businesses, it's like, okay, we need to fit this quota, but at the same time, it's not like how it was before where it was just like a numbers thing. I think people are actually speaking up, and the fact that she just stayed shut that whole like little meeting, it was kind of like, yeah, oh, now you're woke, like now catch up. And it's like I just felt like it was a fresh, like
5 years of that.
Right.
I can't even do.
and 5 years
Talking
ago,
about
probably.
Lawrence or
Ethan.
we got you.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
Is that how long he was on the phone?
Mario, thoughts.
No, I'm was going to add on to something. Like, I agree with everybody. I think coming from Boston, the white liberal mecca, I think you see that a lot, and you see it too often, where you want to go into these communities and quote unquote help, but you're not even trying to listen to the community or people from that community. Yes. And I think Ali Bob a great point. It's lacking this historical context or narrative. That was dope in the 70s. We were fresh off, like, you know, got some major win in the 60s, things like that. At that point, we're just trying to worry about basic equality or equity. But now, knowing what we know now, with a lot of social and personal identities coming from the forefront, if you want to truly be helpful, you have to adapt, or else you will perish. Perish, and rightfully so. Yeah. It's not okay that you want to help POCs, but you silence. First of all, the fact that you only have two PLCs there, and depending on a homegirl, how she racializes herself, she may not view herself as a PLC.
Politics are not very PLC.
Exactly. So my thing is, you have to do an inventory of your own organization. If you're out there and if you're doing, like I'm talking to they watching the show, but if they are, what are you doing to actually help the community? Are you listening to the community, and is your infrastructure of your organization about that life that you purport to claim, or are you just bullshit?
Absolutely.
Because diversity isn't just like who you see, it's their mindset, and it seemed like everybody kind of had the same mindset. Because it's not really like you can throw like 14 different folks from different African countries, from different the diaspora or whatever, and then all of a sudden everybody thinks in the same fashion. Like if I'm Cape Verdeans in West Africa, right? We're Africans, right? Right? So if like we might talk to a Ghanaian, I could talk to Nigerians, I could talk to someone from Benin and Cape Verde, and we all have distinctly different cultures, regardless of the same foods and the same similar kind of like cultures and music. But at the same time, if we're all thinking like first generation born, and this is what our parents said and this is what we do, our shared experiences, how diverse are we?
That's real.
So I want to kind of hit on something that you talked about how trying Issa being there and trying to uplift the black children, right? So for me, I guess so Mara and I have talked about this a lot, and how sometimes you want to emancipate or liberate a group so bad, maybe a group you identify with so freaking bad, as you should, you actually end up oppressing somebody else.
I knew you were heading that way. And to me, honestly,
if people's politics and activism isn't intersectional, I don't know if I'm here. I don't think I want to be here for it, right? Because then where does that logic ultimately take us? So if I only want the black kids, then they're not just black children. They might be poor black children. They might be wealthy black children. It might be little girls, little boys, people who identify gender non-conforming. LGBTQ. There will always be some type of identification going on, right? So I'm always like scared of this logic when people are like, I'm only here for this. I'm like, well, I don't want you to only be here for this. I don't. Ultimately, I don't think we need that. I think that's very dangerous, if anything. But I think I loved Frida. Frida, I think, is a character who's grown so much, and it was fascinating when she said when she said that, hey, Issa's like, white people can't really call out black people on being a racist. And Frida's like, well, racism is about having the power to exercise something, oppress, yada yada yada. And it was such a fascinating. I was like, whoa, Frida, you went there. Frida had her very like white liberal moments where she's like, I binge watched 13. Frida, go away. I think she tweeted at Ava DuVernay and she responded. She liked it. I'm like, Frida. But the interesting is, I think that relationship, right? How sometimes, I'll be honest, I've been in a place where I'm like, man, damn white people, and they actually end up teaching me something. I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't think about it that way. Right. Okay. So I just think that relationship is just interesting. So I like Frida.
So about Frida, I do like that she did listen at least. Like she didn't just shut her down. Like Frida's
the type of person I think is trying.
We
can work with her. We can work with her.
I would take 1,000 Fridas.
Oh yeah, I'll take 1,000 Fridas. It'd be annoying, but I think that goes to the question of, is it our responsibility to teach people on certain things, right? Especially when you're the token. Especially when you're the only one there. That's something that Issa like wrestles with.
Yeah. It's hard.
Go for it, Lex.
Lex, what you gotta say, Lex? Lex, what you gotta say?
As soon as you brought up Frida, she was with the side.
I know.
It's like, what?
I really try not to have my emotions on my face. It's real difficult.
Oh, go ahead.
I appreciated Frida saying, you know what, like, I understand that you are all about black kids, but the school is predominantly Latino. Like, that is we're not trying to serve just one major group. We're trying to serve all underserved children, right? So I appreciate her, and I appreciate the fact that she actually kind of attacked Issa, because it's a really bold, like, especially in this climate, for a white woman, like a privileged white woman. Well, they all are privileged, right? But to go ahead and literally take down someone who is from an oppressed party 2 times, because black and then woman, right? It's very difficult. So I big her up for that. I do think though that like we're giving her too much credit because she's doing bare minimum. Like I just feel like just because she cares, or just because she just because she stated like, oh my God, but what about the Latino kids? We can't just be like, it's free, there's 4 of the motherfucking people, because you have to do more for me. You have to do more for me. And I'm not saying that that was the only place or the only thing, because after Issa got like, you know, tossed to the back burner and she was like on desk duty, right? She was the one who was like, how about Issa? Or like, what about this? And I talked to Joanne, and she didn't have to do that because she just got a promotion. Notice she was like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood after she got that promotion. I didn't really get that, but with the cardigans and the mom hair, I'm not really sure. But petty left. But I'm just saying, like, I just don't. Just because you do one thing doesn't mean that now all of a sudden I'm gonna absolve you, or I'm going to be like, oh my God, this is the face of We Got Y'all. Like, I feel like I don't wanna reward like bare minimum behavior from any character.
So I have a question. Then. How are we defining bare minimum behavior? Because when we look at the civil rights movement, right? Mark Lamont Hill had talked to Kid FIU, gave a speech, talked about how only 16% of the black population actually was part of the civil rights movement, right? So I know a lot of people who will talk about, hey, racial uplift, gender up, all this stuff, but when it comes to actually like doing the work, being an activist, doing it, they're not doing it. Right. So a place like We Got Y'all, extremely problematic, right? But it's better than like absolutely nothing. And
bare minimum.
No. I think I've enjoyed some of the things that come with an organization like that. When they come to a poor school and they give kids resources that these are systemic issues, obviously. Yeah. So this is only a Band-Aid, and sometimes a horrible Band-Aid. But at least the Band-Aid can sometimes block a little bit of the wound, right? And then we see other. I have a lot of.
But who are they serving if nobody wants to go with We Got Y'all? Like that's the bottom line. Like if they were
for sure, but we're talking about with these type of organizations like kind of like writ large, right?
Yeah,
we kind of got into that conversation. And it's interesting too, right? Because when we talk about Issa serving just the black children, yes, it's a predominantly Latino school, but she didn't have all the black kids in the school. A child will always be left aside. A kids will always be disserviced. Kids will always be left out because that organization only had like what, maybe let's say 50 kids in it. There are obviously more than 50 black children at the school. So there are so many other children who just can't be serviced because this is a systemic issue. Right? So this is messy, this is complicated, obviously, but we got to get to other stuff because we can't just. That's the whole episode.
I feel you, and I do agree with that, but I think bare minimum also might be subjected to a certain degree because what's bare minimum for you might be life changing and saving for somebody else as well. So I do see what you're saying, but it's like, well, how are we using bare minimum? What does that mean, and how are we gonna like kind of flip and manipulate that term a bit?
And also her position at the job. I mean, it's not like she could do so much. Like, she didn't speak up more, but she did speak up in one season, and the next one she just became like Joanne's little puppet, basically.
I mean, to that,
but it's like there's just so much you can do. At the end of the day, it's not. Right, that is what it is. At the end of the day, she dresses like Joanne. But then, like, what else can she do? I do give it up to her though that she is still like trying, and like you said, there is growth in her. Obviously, she's not like well versed in everything that we need.
She needs work. Don't get me wrong, she needs work.
But she has developed.
She's valuable.
You want to say something?
I will not. Let's move on.
She already wants to
I know you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No.
It's Easy East. It's the second time you're on board that.
First of all,
I'm here. So we got 15 minutes left. We got 15 minutes.
Exactly. We have things to get to.
So let's get at this third season. Thoughts about the third season. Personally, I loved first season, second season, amazing. Third season was just shaky for me.
Trash.
Yeah.
I
First
think it
episode
was
was
a
trash.
transition season. I feel like
Oh,
the transition season.
Yes.
Yeah.
You never heard of that?
No.
Oh, not a season. Wow.
Third
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, it's like The Wire, you know what I mean?
Game of Thrones had a show.
I just started
The
getting
third
strong.
season is symbolic of Issa's life. This transitioning right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just feel like, damn, Issa's the only character that been struggling all seasons for the
All
entire
seasons.
time. Like, I was like, damn, you wrote, produced, and did all that, and you struggling? Like,
Isn't
my
everyone
ego's too
struggling?
big for that. I
She's
feel like,
struggling in
yes.
a particular way.
Who,
I-
Molly?
Issa.
Issa.
Oh, Issa.
Molly's
Issa's-
struggling in a type of way.
Issa's struggling
Yeah.
with her credit, with her job, with her purpose in life,
Right.
with
Relationships.
relationships. I mean, she's struggling all around. She literally trashed her own apartment. If that's not a struggle, I don't know what the
I
hell
mean,
is.
just
Molly
being dirty.
Molly got money, but she did, her credit, I'm assuming, is fine. But also struggling with her job, also struggling with relationships. I
Right.
mean, I feel like for the most part, Issa did have a lot happening, but I think everybody had a lot. Well, most people
Tiffany's
had a lot.
struggling.
Oh,
I was
shit
Tiffany
across the
struggling
board.
because she's still trying to be down.
You saw what?
Nothing. That was the side.
Tiffany's struggling.
Tiffany's struggling.
Yeah. You want to say something?
She's still trying to be down.
Oh no, I was just saying I thought the first 4 episodes were trash, but literally the episode of Coachella probably is some of the best writing I've seen on television.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
shit.
The
brilliant.
funniest episode,
That
I
was
think, of all
brilliant.
3 seasons.
Oh, not think. I think
No, the
But
point
I-
blank across the board.
But I
And
really
you know
liked
the
the
difference.
episode where Nathan was introduced or reintroduced after the party left. I liked that episode.
Alright, so
But maybe that was
So
more
y'all brought up
emotional.
Nathan. People want to talk about.
Let's
Alright, what do y'all
talk
thoughts on
about
Nathan? What do y'all thoughts on Nathan?
We don't want to. Okay.
The fact that his beard can't connect, that's a whole other thing, right? But so what do y'all think about Nathan?
You petty.
What do y'all think about Nathan?
Ghostface.
Ghost Bag.
Yeah.
Ghostface.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have some thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts. The one thing I will say is that I really kind of a little bit enjoyed his vulnerability because there seemed to be some like mental health
Yes.
Yes.
like sliver
That's what I'm talking
of
about.
mental health, and I feel like in the black community especially, but also the minority community, we really don't have a lot of people that will be upfront and being like, hey, I went to Houston, there was something, not that he was communicative with her, I don't
We
agree,
believe
but
it.
I feel like there was a sliver. And again, he could have went to jail. We really don't
We don't
know.
know.
He could be a liar, and
Right.
you know what I mean.
He
We
could
don't
be.
know. We can only speculate. But I just feel like, to me, coming from a mental health background, I feel like when I was a clinician at one point, I would kind of see the struggle between, you know, some people trying to figure out what do I want, what's my purpose, how do I communicate, and I think that this episode gave me that because Molly went to a therapist, but she like scoffed at the therapist, right?
Yes.
And then she had that whole thing, but I think from a male perspective, like you said, with Lawrence, for a male perspective, how many black males do you know that talk about like, hey, I'm struggling with insert whatever problem here?
People were seeking a great deal throughout this season.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence was trying to get lifted from church, and it ended up being Chad being susceptible to that weak ass message.
But hey, you didn't know.
But Jesus is the plug.
You had Molly in therapy who skirt when Dro came up, and I really wanted them to explore that more, or at least for her to be able to open up in therapy about that. But in particular with Nathan, and I think, you know, if we, you know, think a little bit more through how dealing with depression, assuming that that is what he was dealing with and he wasn't bullshitting Issa, you know, how often, or rather, when someone is going through depression or some sort of mental health issue, it makes you a bad friend, it makes you a bad relationship partner, it makes you a bad employee. You're not communicating well. You're struggling, and so
You're not
while
functioning.
You're not functioning. You know, there are people who are probably functionally depressed now that you don't even recognize. Like, yo, you know, we need a support system around them. He is fresh to LA from Houston and was like, and allegedly went back to Houston to get rejuvenated and reconnected with his social support. And, you know, I couldn't, even though, and I support Issa's reaction to it, because Issa also was hurt, and that is an artifact of, exactly, it's a byproduct of that very, of that sort of dynamic. But at the same time, I felt for Nathan, and I appreciated that amount of vulnerability shown in that moment, but then also just generally throughout the season.
So real quick, I love that we're talking about Nathan. I love we're talking this approach that we're having to him regarding mental health. But it seems like no one really had this approach to Lawrence.
No,
Right.
no,
And the way I've heard, this is the first. I've heard so many people talk about Nathan in this capacity. Nathan, this.
But
I'm like, bruh.
You heard me say that.
Not you. I'm not saying. I'm not.
good.
This ain't personal, girl. But this, I've heard a lot of other people. That's you. Oh no. Stop.
Yeah.
But that was that dude, Prentice.
You with the comb over, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people did see that.
Real quick, can I read some of these comments real quick?
Come on,
Imani saying, I never understood the hype over Nathan. Jason saying, child, me neither. Imani said, it was 2 good days, and everyone was saying, oh my gosh, you really connected with him. And it's like, duh, you connect on the first date and then have a wild night on drugs. And then Jason saying, preach. Jason saying, ooh, I feel like I need to close my ears because I didn't see the last episode.
What are you doing? Spoiler alert.
So wait, on that note, right? Y'all are hitting mental illness and all this other stuff, and then y'all forgetting that like Issa went through like relationship number 1 that went wrong, relationship number 2, what she thought was one. And then she comes into this one like full blown, like ready to just be like everything for him, and he's supposed to be everything for her. But girl, like you're moving way too fast, and then you get mad because he.
It's only been a year.
Issa was in a vulnerable.
Yeah, because remember she says at this last episode, she's like, "Oh, my last birthday wasn't very good." Kind of, I think, talking about.
It's always there for the whole year.
But I'm talking about you're moving way too fast with Nathan. Like she was moving way too fast with him, and like I never even thought about the mental illness thing honestly, because I just figured coming from somebody who moved away from home to a whole other city by myself too, it's like yeah I went back, but I don't owe you anything. One, I know that he did ghost her. Yes, he did ghost her. But at the end of the day, oh my God, you had sex. Who told you to have sex with him on the Ferris wheel? I mean, my nightclub and all.
The
Molly. So and it's not even only that. I think she was just so ready for a relationship, because she even said another episode, she was like, it's because I told him too much. It's because I told him I rap in the mirror. It's like I told him this. Maybe I just told him too much. She just started like overthinking everything to the point where she couldn't even sleep. And it's like, I get it, like, but I think she was just hoping for like a relationship, and maybe he just wasn't ready. Like, it's alright for someone to just not be ready, and I think for him it was kind of like, this girl is like just, opening her whole self to me, and I'm not ready for that. I'm not saying he's wrong, like I'm not saying he's right for leaving and not saying anything, but honestly at the end of the day, like, does he really owe her anything? Like, do you think he really owes her the fact to be like, oh, I went home, I had to handle some stuff or whatever, especially after the whole assault thing going on? It's like, I mean, I thought he was in jail. I thought he was in jail. And even if he, like, for example, if he was in jail, was that really her business? Like, are they really at that point? Or is Issa at that point with him?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because him is not going to be at the same point that you're going to be with them.
But he was the one who was like, how do you know it's real?
Right.
Because
he was the one who was mad adamant. Issa wasn't even about that time.
Yeah.
Because remember, he ghosted her kind of before, right? Remember, he was during the Coachella
this was the second time.
This is the second time.
So,
she could have texted him though, because she didn't text him.
The phone works both ways. We see
both ways.
Pause.
All right, real quick. We have 5 minutes left. So we have 5 minutes left. So we'll let these 2 people speak because they haven't spoken, and then we'll finish it up.
Issa was in a very vulnerable place. She was already being questioned about. Remember, she had the interview with the other black woman for Who Got Y'all, or We Got Y'all.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, who got y'all? Who's that? And like, yeah, it's like, oh, you've been here 5 years. You look like it. Caused her to be like, oh shit, what am I doing for the past 5 years? She's in a very vulnerable spot. And here comes Nathan. It could have been any dude. But the fact that the way that he egged her on is what she needed for that moment to make the move. She quit her job. Not saying she should do things because of another Negro. However, she did it. And now she's already trying to like, oh, wait, maybe I can do this. I'm coming up with these ideas. She's like revitalized and tying that to oh boy. And so, yeah, it's going to hurt real hard when oh boy then ghosts you after you like just put me up on this thing. I feel like she should not have attributed to him, but I believe that she did.
So, really quick though, right? Really quick. It's not
because
she even says that he's the first person to make her feel like she ain't shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? That again is that's within you.
Right.
That has
That's-
nothing to
it's on
do with
her.
the other
It's on
person.
her.
So yes, he let you know that, Issa, guess what? You need to know who you are, what you really want. Quit your job. Not quit. He didn't tell her to quit her job.
He sure didn't.
You know what I'm saying? So again, I feel like it, like she's just
I agree
transition.
with that,
I'm telling you,
I
this
agree
season
with
was
that.
like transition for her.
Because she even says like, hey, the reason she gets this confidence to do the black party is because Nathan hyped her up.
Yep.
And then she's like, oh, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then
At the
Lawrence
same time,
hypes her up again about the party, and now she's like, hey, I think I want to do the party.
And you
Right.
keep
So every
how
guy
guys
is
gonna
responded
keep
to
saying
that,
it.
right?
All right. So
Sorry.
yeah, okay.
Go, Mario, go.
All right, go ahead, Mario. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. So out of curiosity though, so I have a question and I guess followed by a statement. Why am I missing something, or are we not giving Issa that same type of possible mental element or that mental instability that we're ascribing to
she might
Nathan and Lawrence?
Yeah.
Because that's going to someone's house in your damn pajamas, trying to hack their their laptop, assuming that the password might be your name. I think we wrote that off as comedic fodder when it's like, yo,
No, we've
this
been
is
there.
Yes.
Folks have been
No,
there.
but assuming that the password might be your name, girl, you just met him.
First of all, going into somebody's
Hold on.
house.
That's
Y'all,
fine.
team. Hold on. Finish your point, and then we're gonna end.
No, yeah, I'm just saying. So I'm like, why at certain points, maybe not y'all, but it's more rhetorical. Like, why aren't we ascribing those same attributes to her? It just got written off as Issa tripping, but like, no, Issa's having a fucking breakdown, flat out. And another thing is, men out there, please talk to your homeboys. I think one of the saddest things I saw from season 1 was Lawrence trying to talk to Chad, and Chad just completely writing him off.
Yeah.
Like, that was the saddest and most realistic shit I've ever seen in my life. And Lawrence was at a low point. So once again, it's little things like that. That's why, like, I mean, a lot of black men for sure was like, damn, why isn't King Lawrence on the show? We need him. We live through him. Anyways.
All right, y'all. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Clearly,
So much.
we have a lot to talk
Part two,
about.
part two.
We definitely need a part two. Gotta fly Lex back in from wherever she's at. And so, real quick, my last question is: should these episodes be longer, or the season be longer?
Season should be
Yeah,
longer.
I understand, yeah.
This
Season should be longer?
season, yeah.
Season should be
Yeah.
longer?
Both. I want a Lawrence spinoff.
Yeah.
The season should be longer.
Yeah.
The episode length is good.
All right, y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in. So we talked about mental health tonight. Obviously, next week we're actually gonna have a live Woke Wednesdays. We're gonna be at in North Miami at this place called the Lunchbox. I'll be collaborating with an awesome person who does something called Spanglish Conversations, Spanglish Parties. We're talking about mental health in the Latin community. So we have mental health specialists on site. We have yoga instructors, Reiki instructors. We have a lot of people coming together to put on this event. So next week, please feel free, come out, meet us, hang out with us, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, actually, we're starting at 7:30. Have a lot to do, so come hang out with us. Thank y'all everyone for tuning
Why
in.
didn't we get 7:30 though?
Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate y'all coming over.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Thanks.
Should have played the
Oh.
song.
You got the outro.